Hi there, welcome to the show floor at IBC 2025. I'm here on the DDP booth and I'm just wanting to show you a few things about how ArchiWare P5 software makes some nice data management additions to your DDP infrastructure, your storage. So let's jump onto the screen here and I'll show you a few things. So built into the DDP admin interface that you can see right here is a P5 Press Store icon, and in here I've already logged in this browser, so we're jumping straight into the P5 dashboard, and you can see across the top we're going to focus on backup, synchronize and archive. So let's start with backup. Backup is actually included, so every DDP storage device comes with a P5 backup license, and with P5 backup you can back up your DDP storage so that it's protected, and if there's some kind of a disaster that occurs, then you can repopulate all of your data back onto the DDP. And ArchiWare is using either LTO tape or cloud storage to back up the data on the DDP so that it can be recovered. So a backup is for disaster recovery, and it's different to an archive. So an archive is about long-term preservation of data. So when your DDP has project work on there that the project's been delivered and the project no longer needs to be taking up space on the fast DDP storage, we would suggest that customers push that to what we call archive storage or cold storage, which is much cheaper and has a much longer shelf life. And the cold storage for archive is typically going to be LTO tape using a standalone tape drive or a tape library if the customer has enough space to accommodate a rack device, and then you can archive to LTO. Or, very simple to kick off, is archiving to cloud storage. The cloud storage has no upfront CapEx cost, you're just paying for the amount of storage that you're using per terabyte per month. So yes, backup is all about protecting the data on your DDP. Every DDP is coming with a backup license that supports a single LTO drive. So no DDP user has the excuse that they didn't know about a backup. They have a P5 backup license included. P5 Synchronize, which is the middle icon you can see here, is all about replicating data between either one or more DDP units, or maybe you have a DDP and you have some cheaper storage and you want to use that cheaper storage to replicate everything on the DDP to the lower cost disk-based storage. Synchronize is the tool to do this. So Synchronize can be running once a day, several times a day maybe, and updating the copy of the live production DDP storage onto the lower cost storage. So Synchronize, very simple workflow. It's simply a file and folder replication from the DDP to whichever storage you want to pick, and this replica of files and folders will be updated whenever Synchronize runs. So Synchronize will compare the source and the target directory, and it will update and copy the changes from that day. So again, it's kind of like a backup. If you have a failure of a DDP, not that that's likely to happen, if you have some kind of act of God that's upset things, you've got this second copy, could be at a separate location. So if you have a fast wide area network, you could synchronize off to a host and storage at a different location. So that gives you geographical redundancy of your data. Third thing we're going to talk about just now is P5 Archive, the third module that you can see here on the screen. This is the one that I'm really keen to tell you about. So P5 Archive is a way of you migrating production data for maybe a completed project off to cold storage, which we talked about a moment ago, where cold storage is either probably LTO, drive or library, or cloud storage. In both cases, this is storage which is designed to hold data at a low cost per terabyte, and also designed to be able to hold that data reliably and securely for decades. Unlike disk storage, which is more for ongoing production work. So Archive is able to manage this workflow of moving data from the DDP storage to, let's say for sake of argument, LTO storage. And we do this by giving you a browsable way to look into your DDP storage like this, live storage in the browser. We're browsing here. So from here, we can be collecting projects live that we want to archive to LTO. So I'm just making a list here of files and folders that I want to archive, because I know this is all stuff that's completed. And when that's done, I can click on the archive button and select an archive workflow, and this is then directly going to get written off to LTO. And once that's on LTO, it's secure, it's safe. Maybe you're going to make 2 copies, so you can have redundancy across 2 tapes. Keep those tapes in separate locations, and the data is going to be stored pretty much as reliably as it can be stored. Even the cloud vendors are using LTO tapes to store at their archiving price points. So once you've archived the data, we have a single browsable index where you can go and you can see what you archived. So simple example here, I archived this Amsterdam folder with some images in, some movie files, and we can see thumbnails for those movies. These files are now on tape, but even though they're on tape and they've been deleted from the DDP because this was a completed project, we can still see them inside the P5 index. And even better, I can even capture a small proxy. You can see this is Amsterdam, so people are of course on bicycles who are here at IBC. So you can capture a small proxy of the original media file. So these files are on tape, but I can browse, I can see thumbnails, I can play back a proxy. If I know my file is called Amsterdam, I can do a search. If I just turn some of the UI off here, I can do a search for a string, AMST, and it'll find my files. That could be a project name, a client name, project number that you're searching for, maybe 10 years after you archive this data. But simple search, something that you remember about that project, then you're looking at it in our index, a couple of clicks, tells you which tape you need or connects to the cloud storage. All this data is coming back onto the DDP so that you can do this repurposing of a project for the client or whatever reason it was that you needed to bring back that data. If it's the cloud storage that you want to configure and you want to archive to the cloud, then in the storage manager here, it's a simple case of going to the cloud service tab, creating a new cloud service. We have a wide variety of cloud services supported, including Amazon AWS, Backblaze, and Wasabi, 3 popular ones just to point those out. Once you select one of these, you're going to enter your access credentials, bucket name, options within the type of storage vendor that you've chosen. Once all that's set up, then you'll be able to create what we call container storage, which is effectively a big virtual tape in the cloud, and then you'll be archiving to that virtual tape in the cloud in exactly the same way that you do when you're archiving to tape, with all of those thumbnails and proxies available to you. Or indeed you could create a workflow that archives both to tape and cloud in one hit. So if you want that cloud insurance policy, meaning that you've got that second copy, plus you've got the tapes that you can restore quickly from that you're keeping on premise, then that's kind of a hybrid archive where you can archive to both types of storage. So this is a quick tour where we have the archive, the synchronize, and the backup, everything running in a web interface directly off the DDP. And thanks for watching, thanks for your attention.